Hi everybody, ready to do an experiment? Ready to try something new? Today I'm experimenting and I'm going to take you along with me. I'm going to do what I call the split background technique. I'm working on my 9x12 Canson Mixed Media Art Journal and I've given this a coat of gesso to start off with. Now the color scheme that I'm going to use with both backgrounds includes Naples Yellow, Bright Aqua, Prussian Blue, and Raw Umber. I'm just putting it out on the palette here, and I'm going to use a makeup sponge to apply it on the first background. And what I'm going to use is this geonetting stencil. Now I use stencils an awful lot, but I rarely just stencil through them with a combination of colors, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm putting them on wet, multiple colors, not really sticking to one area. Now I ran into a little bit of trouble with the stencil moving because I'm doing a lot of stenciling, so I'm recommending that you tape the stencil down at the top and the sides, and that just makes it easier for you. I just put a little bit of painter's tape. So as you can see, I started with separate sponges. In the end, I end up using one sponge, and they are getting, the paints are mixing as I put them on wet, and you're getting this very grungy, vintage kind of feel. Now I know how these colors work together, and every color combo that I mix in here, I know I'm going to like. So I want some areas that have more yellow, some that are more the aqua, some have the brown, this grunge, but I'm not sticking one area of the stencil to one color where you would kind of stencil and kind of paint the picture. I picked this stencil because it has wide open spaces. That gives a good effect for what I'm doing here and the second step that I'm going to do on this background. Now we might be doing two backgrounds, but they're both super easy. And there we have the background. And you can see at the top it kind of went under the stencil a little bit. I fixed that. And here I'm just tweaking the colors, putting on more color. If you let the paint dry, it doesn't blend, then you can go over top of it. But I'm really liking the mottled look here. It looks like I did a lot more work than what it was. These makeup sponges go into a tub of water that I put a dishwashing tab into. That just cleans them really nicely. So I'm very happy with the background. I put it back on and I decided to add some Prussian blue here. That was my first instinct, and then I thought, no, I'm not going to. This is just deepening the color in a few spots. I'm not putting a lot of this, but it really bumps up this side of the background. Now I've got a brayer, and this is the burnt umber paint, and I'm brayering it on a text stamp, and I'm stamping through the stencil. This is where it would be helpful if the stencil was taped down. You just saw it shift, and I'm putting the text a little bit. If you don't have a text stamp or a script stamp, something with fairly small scale, and look at that. Oh, yum. I'm absolutely loving it. Now I'm going to, my plan is to divide the two backgrounds with some gel prints. So I went through my teal gel plates and brown ones, and I'm pulling off different ones and I'm seeing which one I like, and then I'm just going to rip it down and audition them on my background, even though I'm only halfway done. So that kind of has something. I want fairly solid colors with a little bit of pattern. Now this one, it has kind of a check pattern on it, and it's splattered with gold, and it's just the right color that goes so well with that Prussian blue. And I've got some brown that I'm auditioning there. And I keep flipping through and looking for ones that just go well with the colors that I have there. The problem being some of these are smaller pieces and I don't have a lot of it, so I'm somewhat limited. Then I see this brown one with more gold. And I'm liking that look. It's really picking up all the colors that are in the background. And yes, I haven't done the other side of the other background yet, but I know I'm going to be doing the same colors, so it will go. And then, so I have the 3 of them, and that's how I think it's going to go. So I'm ready to do the second side of the background. Now I over stenciled a little bit, so I'm just taking a bit of gesso and covering that up. I want more of the second background to show, just to give myself options. So once again, I'm using the same 4 colors, but this time I'm just diluting it with water. And I have it on a piece of packaging acetate. You could do it on a so I'm mixing it with water, and then I'm just going to lift it and smoosh. And I have lots of liquid there, but I keep going back, smooshing it and moving it around. Now I'm coming in with the aqua. I had a little too much paint. I'm liquefying it. Turn it and smoosh. Now I'm not letting one layer dry before I put the other layer on, because I want them to mix just like they did on the other side. But if you had colors like a red and a green and you didn't want it to make a brown, you can dry in between your smooshing. When you have it the way you like it, take time, dry it, and then smoosh, and you won't have any blending. Here's the burnt umber. I'm making a puddle by adding water, a little too much. And then I decide I just want to put it on in little bits. I don't want the brown to overcome the whole thing, so I just kind of tap off some of the excess here. And then smoosh. And you keep smooshing until you like what it is. It's kind of unpredictable. And now I'm adding the Prussian blue. So while I have 2 backgrounds, I want them to work together. I want them to be the same colors. So I just keep adding a little bit more paint, a little bit more water. I think I'm enjoying doing this smooshing so much. I want to do this with other colors and just do whole backgrounds all smooshed like this. And because it's acrylic paint, once this is dry, it's permanent, unlike watercolor or some of those other things that you can smoosh with. So which background do you like best? The stenciled one or the smooshed one? Well, fortunately, in a split background page, you don't have to choose. You can have the best of both worlds. Here I'm just adding some more of the Naples yellow on top. I want to bring that a little bit more out. Now, I didn't put any text on this or any stamping. I was very tempted, but I chose not to. I absolutely love both of these backgrounds. So now I'm putting the gel print strips on them, but this one is a little too bright. I want it to be a little bit more grungy so it goes with the background. So I have this kind of grid stamp. It's from Stamperia, and I'm just stamping some brown acrylic paint on it, and it's just grunging it up, making it fit a little bit better. And look at that, a little bit fine detail. I'm going to layer that up here, and then I will work on the focal image. Now, I've never worked with a split background, so this took me a little bit of time to figure out, and I'm not sure that I did the exact right thing. But I love both backgrounds, so that's a definite win. So this stencil is also from the Crafter's Workshop. It's a Valentina Harper design, and I'm just using a makeup sponge and stenciling through it to get a black and white image that I'm going to cut out and use as part of my focal image. I don't know how many I'm going to do, but whatever I don't have is going into my stash. It'll be at the ready the next time I require a black and white image. So I'm just cutting it out, and then where the stencil was, it gave a white border, so that's what I'm giving this. So even though if the background is colored, the white will make it show up. So I grabbed this magazine clipping. She's wearing blue, so it goes with the background. And I have these flowers, which I'm going to turn into wings. And I grabbed a sentiment from my Simplify sentiment pack. And to make it balance, I'm adding one of those flowers on this side. It just looked a little too empty with just the sentiment. So I have an idea of where the composition's going. I'm going to glue the strips down, the Great Divide. And I'm using gel matte medium because those papers are a little thicker. And finally decided where everything's going to go. The struggle is real. And I glue that down. Now I grab my angle brush and I'm going to shade around the sentiment, the focal images, and I'm going to edge the page. This is with black acrylic paint, and it's a shading technique called floating acrylic, and I'll link that video. I did a tutorial on that. It's a technique I use pretty much on every single page. It's my preferred way of shading. If you don't have that, you could go around with the Stabilo All pencil or charcoal pencil and smudge. That would also look really good with the feel of this page. So what do you think of the split background? I think I'm going to have to play with this technique a little bit more and see what happens. But I love both backgrounds. I definitely will be smooshing more and stenciling more. Until next time, go get creative.